Welcome, Trailblazers, to today's ISV series episode. We have with us Valo AI, a security-related company. Our guest speaker is Mika Ståhlberg, the founder and CTO, who will first give us an intro to the topic, then educate us with a live demo. Then we'll also have time at the end for Q&As, so I would kindly ask you to put your questions in the Q&A channel, which I'm starting right now. We are doing this event in collaboration with user groups around the world. Thank you so much to our kind co-hosts. Daniel, if you're available for a word, maybe, Rodrigo. Hello, Rodrigo. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Hi.
Would you say a word of welcome to our audience and to our speaker?
Sure thing. I'm sorry for being late also. Thank you for being here, and I hope we're going to have an awesome session. And greetings from Mexico to everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. Daniel, can you also say something? No, maybe he's busy. So let's get started. Mika, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you, René, and thanks to Ohana Trier and the other user groups for having me here. It's a privilege to talk to you and tell you a bit about Salesforce security and also our product. So let me start by sharing a few slides. So a bit of an introduction. So my name is Mika. I'm the CTO and I'm co-founder. I have other co-founders as well at Valo. So I'm not the founder, I'm a co-founder. I am a security guy. I've been doing security in very many different ways for a long time, over 25 years. My previous role before I started working on this startup project was being the CISO of 𝗓𝗲𝘃, a company that makes these smart rings. And before that, I was the CTO of 𝗩𝗹ście. I'm a certified integration architect, and that's about me. And the topic today, again, I'm very much an information security person. So these are the things that get me going, and I really love talking about security topics. And right now there is a lot of things to talk about in Salesforce ecosystem about security. This slide shows that FBI actually launched a flash alert in September about these Salesforce issues. So compromising Salesforce instances for data theft and extortion. So this phenomenon that has been going on since late spring has become wide enough so that FBI felt that they have to let the public know. So this is not a small thing that's been going on. And it also tells quite a bit of what's going on. So Salesforce instances have been compromised, data has been stolen, and it has been used for extortion. So the companies whose data has been stolen have been asked to pay a ransom, or the data will be published. The companies in question, there is a lot of companies that have published breach notifications or similar. And one thing to note is that this is just a list of some examples. But if you look at the logos and look at the companies behind this, these are the kind of best of breed companies who have big security budgets and are doing things right in terms of security. Still, their Salesforce environments have been breached and data has been stolen. So it sort of tells you that the level of threat has elevated, and now the controls have to be elevated as well. So everybody needs to sort of put their best foot forward and improve their security posture. And I'm going to be talking about this today, and how also Valo can be used to help with that. But I want to use this opportunity also to educate about the threat. A few words about Valo. So we are a startup. Our product was launched in Salesforce 𝗩𝗪𝗃 a year ago at Dreamforce, and we're headquartered in San Francisco, but our R&D is in Finland, where I'm based. And if you want to get more information about Valo or try out the product, just go to 𝗩𝗪𝗃 and search for Valo, or go to valo.ai to our website to find more information. The reason why we started Valo was that we saw that there has been a change happening in the security landscape and also in the Salesforce ecosystem. So Salesforce specifically started in '99 with human users using the browser to log in and do things. This started changing some years later with different kinds of applications, mobile applications, SaaS applications, browser extensions, all kinds of applications starting to connect into Salesforce, and systems becoming more and more interconnected. And this really changed the game. It didn't necessarily automatically start a big change in the threat landscape, but we felt, the founders of Valo, we felt that okay, there is a change happening. And sorry to tell that, but this summer has really been the proof that we were right, that the security landscape is changing, complexity is growing. Third-party applications, like most companies, have hundreds of third-party applications connecting into various systems, and it's really hard to keep all of that secure. And really the thing why we wanted to build this company was that we saw that now AI agents are happening. And while they are still like more a promise than reality, but they will make this complexity even worse. AI agents, they essentially, they don't have any skills barriers. They will do whatever they think is necessary. They can do whatever they think is necessary. So if you give a typical human user, accidentally you give them admin level access, they might not do anything else than what they normally do. But if you give an AI agent too much access, they might just know how to use that access to do what they need to do, or what they feel that they need to do. Because AI agents also don't have any common sense. They will do what they feel is necessary. Plus, they will do it very fast. Plus, there will be a lot of AI agents. Essentially, it could be that every user logging into Salesforce, be it with the browser or through the API, will actually be an AI agent. So the user won't actually be using the browser themselves, but they will allow some agent to browse for them. So there is going to be a big change going forward, which will require a new kind of approach to securing the data in business systems. So let's start looking at what is Valo and how Valo is relevant to this. So I'll switch and start sharing. So here you can see the user interface of Valo. From the interface, you can already see that our product is not a managed package inside Salesforce. So the user interface is kind of different looking. We wanted to build a user experience that this way we felt that we can do exactly what we want to do. So it's an API only solution. And it's a multi-org solution. So here I've connected 3 orgs to this environment. And I can also disconnect the orgs or change their names or logos or whatever from here. And I can switch from one org to another. I can also see how these orgs are interconnected and how they interact with third-party services. So this is what we call our connection graph. Here you can see that, okay, these 2 orgs here are actually interconnected with a cross-org connector, while, for instance, this org here, which is our demo org, so this has sort of mock data. It's connecting to OpenAI API, which is also used by this service. In the graph, the orange lines are inbound connections, so they are connected apps and ECAs, while the blue ones are outbound connections, so things like outbound message or remote site setting. So you can see not just connected apps, even though connected apps are very much a topic today, but you can see also the other connections. So if you want to understand how your org has been built, or maybe you're a consultant and goes into a completely new org, you can get a very easy understanding of how this org is interacting with the rest of the world. You can also get a view from a dashboard of what's going on in every particular org here, but we'll go into this in more detail soon. So let me talk some more how about this org compromises. How have the orgs during the summer been compromised? In order to understand that, because basically all of these attacks that are in the news are related to connected apps. So just so that everybody is on the same level with this, what is a connected app? Connected app is a Salesforce term for an inbound or open authentication integration, so OAuth integrations. There are a lot of different types of connected apps, mobile apps like Salesforce for iOS, and then browser extensions. Not all browser extensions are connected apps, but some are. Things like Slack, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and Workbench is a good example of a connected app. Something that not everybody knows is that connected apps are actually global. So when you create a connected app in your org, it can be used to log into another org. But since we're talking about authorization, the open authorization protocol, it's not enough for you to know the consumer secret and consumer key of a connected app to connect into any org. A user who has an account in that org also needs to authorize the connected app. So, and this is very relevant for the attacks. So a user has to authorize the connection, and then the service or mobile application or whatever will get something called a refresh token. And then this refresh token can be used to log into the org as a, well, technically it can be used to create another token, which can be used then to log into the org. But I'm not going to go into more details about OAuth here. Last year at Dreamforce, Salesforce released a new technology called 𝗙cie, external client app, which you might call a connected app version 2. So it differs from from the traditional legacy connected apps from a couple of perspectives. One is that it's metadata, so it actually can be deployed easily with a CI/CD pipeline or something like that, which also means that it's actually local. So it's not global like the connected apps are. It needs to be deployed into the org where you're connecting into. So it can be deployed there, it can be created there, or it can be deployed there as a managed package or whatever. So how is this relevant for the attacks? This is an application called Data Loader, which I'm sure that pretty much everybody who's worked with Salesforce data knows. So it's Salesforce's open source tool. It's a desktop application for Windows and Mac. There's also a command line version for Linux, which is actually not relevant here because of the fact that it doesn't use OAuth. But this tool has been used in many of these attacks. And how it has been used is that this tool is actually something that in most Salesforce orgs, Data Loader comes as in a managed package that is already there when you start your org. So the connected app exists in the connected app list. So what the attackers have been doing is that they take Data Loader, so the Salesforce Data Loader, and they choose a victim. They choose a company using Salesforce. And they log with Data Loader, or try to log with Data Loader into the org of the company. And that's pretty easy to guess what the, and you don't necessarily even have to guess, but like to know what the my domain of a company is. So you basically just put it into Data Loader. You select OAuth as the authorization protocol, and you click login. What happens then is that the Data Loader will show you the login from browser. So Data Loader will tell you that, okay, now we're ready to connect, but now you need to go into your Salesforce org and you need to authorize me to connect there. Okay, so what do the attackers do in this case? Somehow they figured out this actually is called the OAuth device flow. So this is not the, let's say, not the normal flow that you would use in these situations to connect into services. That would be a flow where you need to log in with a username and password and MFA. This is OAuth device flow, which is maybe more familiar from situations like using a streaming service at a hotel where there's a smart TV and you want to watch your Netflix from the smart TV. So you use this flow to authorize. You will, with your remote control from the TV, you will punch in 8 numbers and then the TV can show you your Netflix content. So that's the same flow that Data Loader has been using. And so now the attacker has this in front of them. They are ready to connect, but they need somebody to authorize them. So what do? What have they been doing is that they will actually call the company. They will call somebody who has Salesforce access. And actually, since a lot of companies use Salesforce for customer support, and since customer support is oftentimes also supporting over the phone, so they have a public phone number, they will actually call somebody from customer support. And they will call them and they will say that, hey, I'm calling from the company IT. And we're making a change to our ticketing system, and you need to authorize the new system so that this will also work for you. And for whatever reason, it's not working for you. So can you go now into Salesforce? You have Salesforce open in front of you, yes. Okay, go into Salesforce, go to /setup/connect in your Salesforce. And then when the support agent goes there, they will see this. They will see a screen where they can type in 8 numbers. And the attacker will tell those 8 numbers over the phone. They will say, type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and click connect. And then when the victim clicks connect, the data loader that the attacker had waiting immediately jumps into life, got connected into the org as that support agent. And then they will say over the phone that, hey, yes, thank you. Now your ticketing system seems to be working just fine. Thanks for your help. Good day. And with data loader, once they have the connection, they of course already have a tool that they can use to export all the data. So that this is not just a way to get in, but it's also the tool to actually get the data out. The scary thing about this attack with this device flow is that most users know better not to go into weird websites and type in their passwords. And most people know not to give their password over the phone. But not everybody knows that typing 8 numbers that somebody else tells you to Salesforce is dangerous. So they are in their trusted Salesforce environment, and they may not realize that they're doing something dangerous. So this is one learning that I hope that everybody takes, that people need to be educated about these kind of things, and they need to know that, okay, hey, this is dangerous, and you need to be suspicious of this kind of a thing happening. And these device flow attacks are not just a Salesforce problem. They are also a problem on the Microsoft ecosystem, for instance. So education definitely is needed with these attacks. So let's look at Valo again, and how these kind of cases can be investigated with Valo. So let's go to app connections. Here we have different apps. There are connected apps. There are all kinds of other apps. There is data loader here. So here you can see what Valo can show about the apps that you have in your environment. We have a database of apps. So we have a description for the apps, but we also calculate a vendor security reputation score based on their security posture, and we provide information like the category of this app and all that. So it helps you understand what the apps are actually in your environment and what they might be needed for. But you also got to get other types of information on how it has been set up and whether or not that makes sense. But you also know who actually installed it, and you can also see who has been using this application. But you can also see like if there are any alerts or insights related to this application. And this is like something that should be understood about Valo, that it's not just a tool that does, let's say, a scan or something that you can use to look at the data in your Salesforce. It actually monitors this all the time, 24/7. It looks at what's going on, and it will send you an email alert. It will create these sort of insights when something strange has been going on. And here, as you can see, for data loader, there is one thing that has been happening, that has happened 3 months ago, is that a user called 𝗪𝗹𝗁 has connected from Russia. And this is last day of, or second to last day of July. Okay, so, and we can also see here that 𝗪𝗹𝗁 actually, that's also the last time that she's been using based on this timestamp here. You can also look at who she is, and she is from customer support. So it's kind of curious that somebody from customer support would be using data loader, but also, of course, that it's coming from a suspicious IP address like Tor network or a VPN IP address or an IP address in a country where you don't have any team members. So these are the kind of insights. Of course, like here we're looking at this like 3 months later, but there would have been an email immediately sent after this has been detected that something has been going on. But it can also be used to investigate. For instance, we can see, okay, she's been using data loader only on that day. Then getting into other attacks. So this data loader thing was big news, and there has been many compromises done with it. It's a social engineering attack where users are tricked into authorizing data loader. But there have been other types of attacks happening at the same time, and also like until today or like last week, they were the latest news. One of these cases was the Salesloft token theft. So Salesloft Drift is an AI application or chatbot that was acquired by Salesloft last year in 2024. And on 27th of August, it was announced that they've had a breach, and Salesforce has now revoked all the tokens of Drift from Salesforce. So Salesforce went ahead and basically deleted all the access tokens from every org where Salesloft had any, or Drift had any tokens. It turned out there is a Google threat intelligence report about this very well-written report that in the beginning of August, these tokens had been used to log into these orgs that had been connected with Drift, and data had been exfiltrated. Also, Google Threat Intelligence says that the attackers were specifically looking for secrets, and here by secrets I mean things like passwords, access tokens, things that you might find in places like maybe support cases, maybe named credentials, maybe in custom metadata. They were looking for those kind of things. They didn't specify how they know that, but they did say that very clearly in the report. So if you're affected, you should know that the secrets that were in Salesforce might now be known by somebody else. Last week, there was news that Gainsight, which is another quite popular vendor in the ecosystem, they had also their tokens stolen. And the news, like we don't exactly know yet what has happened here, except that the reaction from Salesforce is very similar. So Gainsight was, their tokens were immediately revoked, and also the applications were pulled from AppExchange. And exactly what happened and how, we don't know, but it kind of probably is safe to assume that the auth tokens from Gainsight were somehow compromised, either all of them or some of them. And they were used for exfiltrating data. So at face value, very similar thing to the Drift case. So let's take a look at how Valo can be used to investigate these kind of cases. So in this this demo org, there is Drift application. We can also see the insights from an insights list. And here we can see that there is a score for how severe these insights are. And Drift has 2 high severity insights. The first one is that there also has been a login from an IP address. So this is a Tor IP address from South Africa. So Drift has been logging. So Valo's AI learns the behavior of these applications and knows that Drift is always coming from the same IP address, and it's accessing the same kind of objects, doing things at a very, let's say, predictable pace. But then suddenly it does something different, and it's coming from a completely different IP address. So we warn about that immediately. Also, once we learn that there is a data breach, we will also create an alert about the data breach itself. So even if you don't know about the data breach, so you haven't heard about it from other sources, Valo will warn you that one of the services that we know that you have at least been using, maybe you're still using today, has been breached, and you should take actions. And we will provide you also with suggestions on what kind of actions you need to take. So how has Salesforce been reacting to these attacks and these security challenges? You probably are aware of these things already, but just worth recapping. The first thing, and probably the most significant thing that Salesforce did, was that in the beginning of September, they changed the way how connected apps work. So Salesforce has for some time had this feature called API access control, which is sort of like a hidden feature. You need to ask Salesforce support to enable it for your org, or actually just to enable the checkbox that allows you to enable it. But now with these changes in the threat landscape, Salesforce actually sort of created a API access control light version as the new default model, where only users with the approve uninstalled connected apps permission can actually allow new applications to be connected into Salesforce, new connected apps to be connected into Salesforce. And this is a really, really great change. Of course, should be noted that all system admins or system admin profile got this permission by default. And based on our experience, quite many connected applications are actually installed by the system admin or our admin tools or something like that. So it doesn't automatically mean that there's never going to be any challenges. Also, existing connected apps, they were grandfathered in. So if a connected app has been used maybe years ago, the token is still valid, because by default, connected apps tokens in Salesforce, they are forever tokens. They never expire. Also, should be noted that this new way of treating connected apps with the installed and uninstalled doesn't actually protect against these token thefts related to Drift and Gainsight, because there the token has already been approved. The token already exists. Also, data loader and Salesforce CLI no longer use the auth device flow. So that's not possible to use anymore. With data loader, if you want to use auth, you need to update to the latest version, which then use the web flow. And Salesforce very importantly told that all customers should now review their connected apps. And that's very important. And that's where Valo can really be of help. So how can you review your connected apps? And maybe even more importantly, how can you understand what the connected apps are doing and whether or not they are actually being used or not, and what are they used for? So here we can, in app connections, we can see connected apps. We can filter just to see connected apps. We can see which connected apps are installed and which are not. We can see the security score of the connected apps. This 𝗘𝗃𝗲𝗀, this is, by the way, not a real application. It doesn't really exist, but it's here for demonstration purposes of a let's say, low reputation application. You can see different things about the application. You can see the vendor's reputation, how well known, do they have a proper security posture, all of that. Do they have a good reputation? Do they have good reviews? Are they available in App Exchange? Things like that. Those affect the vendor reputation. You can see whether or not there is a lot of inactive users using that application, or if the application is in active use. Because if you have an application that is actually not in active use, it is just adding to your attack surface and it's not adding any value, so you should disable that. And then whether or not the users using it have too much permission, or if there's a risk with that, and things like that. There's a lot of things. You can also see who's using it, and then you can see various different types of insights. So for instance, this application was added 14 days ago, and there is unusual API activity 2 days ago, and it's also using an insecure authentication method. So it's using the username password authentication, at least some of its integrations are, and that's not really recommended. And here we can actually see that the API usage is growing at a really huge rate. It's causing a lot of API calls. So this might be, for instance, that the application has some sort of a bug. So it's running in circles and causing a lot of API usage. And if it hits the org API limits, then it will prevent all the other integrations from working. So this is something that probably needs to be taken care of. And there is a very easy way to just use Valo to revoke the token, and then you can spend time in investigating what is actually the problem. Okay, then let's spend some time talking about least privilege and why is it important with these cases as well. As I mentioned in the beginning, that there were these very well-known companies which had really have a good security reputation and all that. When I'm reading through their breach notifications and the news, I get the feeling that the attacker got data that typically a support user has access to, but they probably didn't get much else. So these companies, most of them at least, had a least privilege principle at play. Had the attacker gotten an admin level access into the org, they could do a lot of damage. They could delete data and disable backups, and they could even encrypt data. They could kick out all the admins that are there right now. So this is really something that needs to be protected, that the attacker never gets privileged access if we can help that. Also, they shouldn't get access to secrets in the Salesforce org. So as said, the Salesforce orgs of today are interconnected. They're not in vacuum. They are connected to other systems. And that means that they are also accessing other systems, which means that they have secrets that allow them to access other systems. And the attackers, if they get their hands on these secrets, they can use them for lateral movement and move to the other systems from Salesforce. And the secrets can be in many places. I mentioned named credentials already, but they can, for instance, be in Apex code or in custom object somewhere. So they shouldn't be there. They should be in named credentials, and the accesses should be controlled well so that as few users as possible have access to the credentials in those named credentials. Very important to understand is that the attackers can only exfiltrate the data that they can see. I sometimes hear people saying that we trust our users, so we don't want to restrict their access too much. But that's not the problem. You may trust your users, but what if by accident one of your users gets compromised and their access is used by these kind of attackers? At that moment, you want to make sure that the attackers get as little data as possible. So it's important to minimize the data to the data that is necessary for the role to do their job. And should be remembered that this is not just about permissions. Of course, sharing is very important, but also licenses. Like licenses in Salesforce, they control what kind of accesses can be given to the user. So let's look at Valo and how it can be used for permissions and sharing. So we have a couple of features here. One is permission browser, where you can actually see different permissions for different users. We have introduced something we call permission power, which gives you a easy understanding of which users actually might have too much permission, that do they really need this for their role, and what are the users where you should be reviewing their permissions. You can see the same for profiles as well. You can do things like, let's imagine that you have a user called Anna who comes to you and says that I can't actually access invoices and I need it for my job. And she gives you a hint that okay, there is actually a team member called Leo who can access invoices. So you can do a comparison between Anna and Leo. And you can very easily see, oh, invoice object. And you can also see that, okay, it comes from this permission set. So quite easily you can understand where the problems lay. We also have introduced this new feature which allows you to look at permissions, but also sharing. So you can use an LLM with your own words. You can ask questions about what's going on in the environment, and the LLM will then formulate a graph out of what you were asking for. Okay, so this is the role hierarchy, and you can ask more specific questions, but you can also ask, like, for instance, show sharing rules. This environment actually doesn't have that many, but you get the point. So you can ask questions like, why doesn't somebody have access to something, or you can get an understanding of how sharing has been built in your environment, how the permissions are related in your environment. And that's what you can do with Valo. And that's about it for my presentation and demo. And go to AppExchange and search for Valo or Valo.ai, and you will find our solution. We have 30 days free trial available, so you can test it out in your org or Trailhead org or Sandbox or wherever you want to see how it works. Just one thing to mention though is that the solution is, as you can see, it's quite focused on looking at what's going on in Salesforce. And if you try it out in an org where there isn't really much going on, then of course you won't see as much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mika, for this very insightful presentation and accompanying Valo demo. It's really great to see also that you are dedicating time to security education, which is an increasingly important topic in the Salesforce ecosystem. So I think we can open the Q&A. In the Q&A channel, we have a question from 𝗙cie. If you're still there, maybe you want to ask it. It doesn't seem so, because I don't quite understand the question. So so he is asking, can we provide a system admin profile to the user that is using authentication with a connected method? So that's beyond me. Mika, does it tell you anything?
I'm not sure. Maybe he's asking whether or not you can like give that permission to a user who's not a system admin, because like Salesforce introduced this new permission for the uninstalled connected apps. But I'm not really sure if that's what he's referring to. But for that permission, you can. I don't recommend it though, but you can. Okay,
thanks. Then I'd really ask if there are questions from the audience. So let's go. Ask Mika good questions. Rodrigo, I'm sure you have a question, no?
First, thank you for the demonstration. It was really deep in terms of what we can do and what we can expect to have on Valo. It's amazing. Right now, I didn't have a question, and I would like to ask if alguien en español que tuviera alguna duda que quisieran que yo le preguntara a Mika. Pueden ponerla o comentarla y yo hago la traducción si gustan. No. It looks like there's no question in Spanish also, so let's keep going.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if there are no other questions at this stage, then I would have a few on my own. I mean, just to clarify, so I think lots of people, you don't even need to be a Salesforce developer. So many people in the ecosystem know how to use the Salesforce CLI, right? And if we use the OAuth flow to log into an org, then a token gets stored on our hard drive. So if somebody would gain access to my PC and steal that token, they could log in as me, right? And then they could do whatever I'm allowed to do in the org. So that would be an example of how a token gets stolen, more demystified, maybe. Is that correct, Mika?
That is exactly correct. So with these attacks, there is no indication that has been happening, but it actually is the most common way how organizations, not Salesforce organizations, but like companies in general get hacked these days, is that there is something called an info stealer. So there is malware, typically on a Windows laptop, that steals all kinds of tokens from within the browser and from the hard drive of the laptop, and then siphons those tokens out to the attacker. Typically in these cases, the attacker actually doesn't use those tokens themselves. Their business is actually getting those tokens, and they will actually sell them on the dark markets and resell them. So they are sort of like access brokers, and then somebody buys those tokens, and then they use them for collecting data, and then they sell that data to other people who then use it for extortion. So it's like a open marketplace where these sort of services are interacted, and that's quite important to understand. And that's why it's so important even today when the focus on the cloud services, to understand that oftentimes the attacks on the cloud services kind of use the laptops as bridgeheads. So the attacker gets access to the laptop, and from there they get access to the cloud service. And yeah, it's still important to keep the laptops secure.
Yeah. There's actually a kind of a follow-up question. So what can we do to make tokens safer from John Carlos here? Should we do token rotation? What can we do to diminish this intrusion point?
The token rotation is a good thing to do because it solves certain types of problems. That, for instance, if a token is forgotten in source code or something like that, then it eventually will be revoked automatically. The problem with token revocation is that if you, as I said, in Salesforce, connected app tokens by default never expire. But if you start expiring them, then of course, if you forget to revoke, like rotate them, then your integrations will start breaking, and that's a challenge. And since security is not just about confidentiality and integrity, but also about accessibility, then the accessibility can be compromised with expiring tokens. So you need to have solid processes. I would say that something that I didn't mention here, but something that also, like one of the upcoming features in Valo, is that you should really look into restricting the IP addresses from where the integration user profiles can log in from. So, for instance, if you look at the different breach notifications from companies that got hit by this drift breach, some of those notifications actually say that yes, somebody tried to like log into our Salesforce with the drift token, but since they were coming from the Tor network and not from the drift IP address that we had set, they actually never got in. But we can see from the logs that they tried to get in. So there are companies who were saved by the IP restriction. So I think that that's a recommended way, especially for these sort of SaaS services that come from predictable IP addresses. But then if you're talking about laptops like Salesforce CLI, then the IP address may not be super reliable unless your company uses a VPN, and the connections always come from the VPN exit node. And then you should make sure that they can only log in from the exit node.
Yeah. And to reduce the attack surface, we could encrypt the token with another token and do a multi-factor on everything, but that would slow things down, right? It would create friction.
Yeah, there are like new protocols that require proof of possession and all that have been proposed and that are being rolled out, but it will probably take a long time before the auth protocol itself is sort of like more resistant to these sort of things. But really, like with simple things like making sure that for instance, like in these cases, there have been indications that some companies who have thought that they had already stopped using some service, the token is still valid because they like didn't fully ask their data to be deleted. They have gotten hurt. So basically, it's important to make sure that you revoke all the tokens from the applications that you're no longer using or that you don't want anybody to use. Restricting the attack surface, and then the IP restrictions, and then reducing the permissions. It's not possible to go into like a 100% guarantee that nothing bad will ever happen, but you can definitely reduce a lot the probability and then the damage if the bad thing should happen.
Yeah, thank you so much. Another tiny question I would have, you were initially speaking to the sort of documentation that is done on the org with the like network diagram you were showing. So does that observability include all of the callouts that are made in Apex and Flow, and are all those endpoints that we call out to visible and documented as well?
So right now, like since they need to use remote site settings, yes, they are. So they are visible there as targets, but we don't actually, and that's one of the features that is on our roadmap, to show actually the endpoints that are and the Apex callouts that are being used. Right now, it basically just shows that there is a remote site setting, and then you need to understand why is that remote site setting there? What is the data that is being sent to the other end? Or is that remote site setting completely unnecessary? You should think about remote site settings as basically holes in the firewall of Salesforce. And if you don't need the hole there, then you need to like plug it.
Yeah, thanks for this insight into your roadmap. Can you detect, so I'm getting a bit more granular here, can you detect if a business user's credentials are used for API integration purposes, like that would not be a best practice?
Yeah, that's one of the insights. Well, I actually didn't have in the demo environment, but we have one of those insights there which does actually warn about that. So our product can identify which users are human users and which users are non-human users, and we do warn if a human user's like account is being used for an integration, because that's definitely an anti-pattern. It for a number of reasons, but one of them is for instance the fact that if that person ever leaves the company and you close that Salesforce account, then the integration will actually break.
Yeah, so an accessibility issue.
Yes, but also it actually becomes quite difficult to do forensic analysis if for instance you want to understand if there this connection has been somehow compromised and that same account has been used for many different things, and it's also hard to have IP restrictions in place if that account is used both for logging in with a browser and mobile applications, and then some sort of like a, let's say, connection between your CRM and ERP.
Yeah. As for your business model, maybe this is a bit of a larger question. Are you offering also security consultancy, or are you really focused 100% on your product?
Valo is a product company, so we have a product, and then we have some partners who are using our product for their services, but we are a product company.
Yeah, okay. I'm not enough of an SME to understand, so you are surfacing a lot of insights, but still a human reviewer would have to actually act on them, right? You are not implementing like a full IDS scheme with automated actions at this time.
No, we are making it easy to understand what those actions, like what those insights are, what's going on, so that you don't actually have to build anything. A lot of the security tools out there require you to, take in logs, put the logs there, and build a lot of rules and all of that, and build automations and all that. That's all in Valo. We have some actions, like for instance, you can revoke tokens with ease, but right now we don't take automatic action. We've also learned that many users in the ecosystem would be kind of concerned about that. So we tell that hey, you should do this. Here's a button, press it, and that's done. But we don't press it for the user.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to go on for too long, but if you are a bit like having superior insights into an organization's security posture, then I'm sure you are having superior cryptography and protocols in place, so to protect all of your insights, right?
Well, yes. So Valo is a company started by security experts, and we want to do everything by the book as best as we can. So we do, as an example, our access tokens are encrypted.
Yeah. So it's a bit like securing the DNS system, right? So we don't want that to go wrong.
For sure.
Yeah. Maybe to finish, could you maybe share some success stories or incidents that were prevented using Valo?
So I showed the kind of fictional case about this 𝗘𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗀 application sort of going crazy and starting to consume API calls, which is actually based on a real life customer case where they had somebody from their team had, unbeknownst to the admin, had connected an application, and Valo warned about that, and it started consuming a lot of API calls, and very quickly. Another example is that we have detected like weird connections going to weird places, or applications that are from countries where certain companies don't want their data to go. These kind of things are easy examples to give.
Yeah, thank you so much. What advice would you give someone who wants to learn more about all of these security topics? Do you offer webinars on your own, or do you contribute to the wider security community?
So I think that I would give two very easy advice for this. One is that when you go to Valo.ai, we have a blog. I have blogged there, and other people from the company have also blogged there about Salesforce security on very many topics, not just about connected apps, but that's one topic. We also have blog posts about, for instance, browser extensions and managed packages and all that. That's one. So if you're interested in Salesforce security, we're blogging actively there, and also like active on social media. But actually, like if you go to Trailhead and search for security, you can find surprisingly many good quality sort of introductory courses on various topics around security, and not just Salesforce security, like general security. And you also get some points for your badges and things like that. So I would really warmly recommend that as being a good first step on the road to learning about security. But I think the most important thing there, as with a lot of other things as well, is to be curious and try things and learn things and ask questions and be curious. Like if you don't understand why something is happening in your org, for instance, just start digging until you find the answer, and you will learn about a lot of things when doing that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mika, for your time, for sharing all of these insights. And maybe one day there will be a standalone Salesforce security credential that we create better visibility for these topics.
That would be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and it would be like a requirement to be hired for jobs. Rodrigo, do you maybe want to say a final word on your birthday?
Well, yes. I'm really thrilled of this amazing opportunity to learn about Valo.ai. It's mind blowing all the power you can get just providing security to the users and for the community itself. So it's amazing, and appreciate all your demo. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodrigo, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Good evening, good day everywhere. Thanks so much, Mika. Bye-bye.